Hey guys, what's happening? I'm sure you've been introduced, or if you don't know who I am, I'm David Mackie, BCSS grad of 2012. Been a while now. I was asked to come on and speak to you guys about my experiences through Bill Crothers, my journey, my experience through university sports and now professional sports. I've been a pro football player for 4 years now in the CFL. Brief stops in New York and different tryouts in Dallas, stuff like that. We'll touch on that. I always thought one day maybe if I go back to talk to students at Bill's, I'd probably be clean shaved and maybe in a collared shirt if you're lucky, and maybe tell you something fun. But instead, I'm wearing the official uniform of Bill's, and that's sweats. I think this is what most gym teachers at Bill's wear to semi-formals, I'm pretty sure. But uh, yeah, I'm happy to get to share some information with you guys, some a little bit about myself and the awesome things you get to do as a professional athlete. Maybe one day in the next year or so, maybe down the road, I get to come in and speak to you students again. I guess if you're in the ninth grade, you'll have to see and hear my same thing over again. But if you move on, I get to speak to some future students. I want to be as candid as possible. I don't want to be scripted or anything like that because that just seems boring. Normally, I've been doing some of these things on podcasts or online interviews, Zoom calls, but I'm sure you guys are absolutely sick of those. So I'm just going to sit here and ramble to you guys for, I believe I'm sending 2 videos into 15 to 20 minute videos. The first one I'm going to share you guys a lot of my experiences through pro sports and what to expect and give you guys a little bit of knowledge, insight to what the life of a professional athlete is and a college athlete. And then the second one, I'll tell you a little bit about my own story and the mental and physical toughness it takes to be a college athlete and then move on to the next level. I want to thank Jonas for reaching out to me. I believe he said he was the president of the student council. I'm not sure what it was called. We had a couple different names for it back then. When I was there, I have no idea what it's called now, but I'm sure it's doing a lot bigger things than what we had going on, 9 years ago. So the first couple questions I'm going to be looking over my notebook here. I write like a 5-year-old still, so I'm going to have to read some of these questions. But I never really had a chance to, I've never really thought about my journey and important aspects. Obviously, I've been through a number of different things, but this has really been the first time I've had to sit down and think about how I would give a former version of myself advice and what to look forward to and things to avoid or things to do to make it to the pro level, to do well at the college level. So like I said, some of these things might be kind of all over the place. I'm trying to center my thoughts, but bear with me. I got sent some questions here that maybe some of you guys would want to know about, a day-to-day life of a college athlete. I'm sure many of you guys that in your later career have friends that have moved on, have coaches that have told you about the college life. I'm sure a number of you guys are getting recruited. So there's going to be some things that you guys are familiar with, but I'm going to kind of give you guys a lowdown about what I went through, my experiences, and how I went about things. So first one is, let's think about college, right? After high school, I had a pretty busy schedule through high school, which you'll hear about in the next video. But I went to Western University, go Western, right? That's the only school out there. I don't really care about any other school. Just kidding. But once I got there, I obviously expected a hard course load. The university pretty much outlined that for me when I signed my scholarship acceptance. The teachers at Bill Crothers said, you know what, university's not going to be easy. But I got there. Training camp was crazy my first year because you don't realize it that, if you're the stud, you're the team captain of Bill Crothers football team or Bill Crothers hockey team or whatever OHL team. When you get to the next level, everyone was their captain. Everyone was the best player. So you have to understand that you're not special anymore, right? As we tell you and you're told all through Bill Crothers, and I'd like to tell you that every single one of you is special. You have a unique opportunity to come from an amazing school. Once you get to the training camp, don't carry that entitlement anymore. You just have to perform. Can you play at that next level, and how can you perform? And you have to outperform the other people that are there. I had an opportunity to go in as a receiver. I was a lot smaller than I am now. That lasted all of 6 weeks at Western before I got moved to H-back, which was a glorified title for fullback. And I was playing inside the box, and I had to play with a lot bigger people right away. But once I was there, it was pretty cool, and the schedule was pretty much the same for the remainder of my university career. I spent at least 5 days a week in season watching film. Like, our practice days were Tuesday, we'd get there at 4, we'd watch film for an hour and a half, then we were on the field for 2.5 hours, then we were back inside to watch more film. We get fed, and then you get home at 10:30, try and get a little bit of study work, homework done, and then you're back up the next day for labs or classes, whatever you have, depending on your program for the next day. And sure enough, by 4 o'clock on Wednesday, I was back in. Same thing, get up, study Thursday. Thursday was another practice, and then Fridays was usually the walkthrough the day before the game. And it was a little bit lighter, but we still went in, we watched film. We didn't hit, we didn't have anything. It was pretty easy practice. And Saturday's game day usually won, which was pretty awesome compared to I think 2 straight years at BCSS. I don't think we won a game. We were part of that initial wave of football teams there. But Sundays we go in, we watch the game film, we'd review, we call that a rundown day. Mondays was our day off, but you have to get a lift in. So it's pretty much 7 days a week, and that's how things operated for 5 years at Western. So that's a pretty heavy load, and get used to that, right? And I'm sure it's the same at a lot of NCAA schools, and all of you guys should strive for the biggest university you can get to and the best scholarships you can obtain. But just know that you're accepting a pretty heavy load, which isn't meant to deter you. Just get mentally ready for that. And your time management has to be, exceptional. I know Bill Crothers always represents positive athletics, but most importantly, the academic side of school. I graduated with a kinesiology degree and psychology degree. I had no expectations going into university. None of my family had gone to university, and I had a lot of positive role models back at Bill's to get me there. But, I had no idea how I was going to juggle this load. No one told me how much time I was going to have to spend studying and when I was going to have to study. And all I cared about was making the football team, trying to crack the dress roster, and then school kind of came second. And it's always an ongoing joke that, it's school first and football second. As hilarious that is, right? You have to understand that if you want to perform well on the field and have academic success, your time management skills got to be top notch. So start practicing that now. Ask your teachers, ask the guidance, ask for some advice on how you're going to manage that down the road. But I'm also sure that the university is going to have some resources for you. Now, once I moved on to the pros and I got drafted, most of these questions that I got asked here is about my day-to-day life as a pro. And as tough as university was for time management and everything like that, you have to carry those same time management skills as a pro. However, as a professional football player where you only play once a week, I'd be lying if it wasn't a lot of fun. We watch more film than I ever did in college, but I have less school than I did when I was in university. So my daily schedule, I usually get up at 4:30 or 5. I get to the facility by 5:30, 5:45. I get hour and a half workout in, treatment, physio, chiropractor, everything like that. By 8 a.m., I'm in watching film with whatever coach I want to watch for that day, whether that's offense, special teams, head coach, whatever it is. And then by 9, we have to start our day because we're part of a union, our players association. So we have to start at 9. We watch film, usually special teams meetings, whatever that is, from 9 until 10, then offensive 10 to 11. Then we're on the field by 11:20. We're out there for 2 hours. As much as 2 hours seems like a long time, you got to practice perfect, right? We have limited time out there on the field, and every rep has to count. Once we're off the field, we back inside in the meeting rooms, get a bite to eat, and we review that practice. And by 2 o'clock, the day is done. But at that point, it's on you. If you are a 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. guy, because that's what the union says we can work, or the Players Association says you can work, it's the same in the NHL, it's the same in the NFL, it's the same in the NLL, MLS, everyone that's protected by a players association, if you're only willing to put in work in those hours, you're not going to have a long career. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It does not matter, right? Your workouts have to come. You have to go home. You have to eat. You have to watch supplemental film, all of that stuff. So carrying those same time management skills that you carry in from college and a lot for extra time for your workouts, your treatment, you got to take care of yourself physically. You've got to make sure, half the time I'm across the country in British Columbia, so I got to make sure you put time away for your loved ones to call them, FaceTime them, everything like that. It can be difficult being out there on your own, but that is the day-to-day routine. But once again, if I'm in at 5 a.m., I have most of my film study done by 4 o'clock. I've watched enough film that I got asked what's a good way that I use to relieve stress. I picked up golf because golf is unbelievable, and it's something you can go out there, you can play 9, you can play 18. It is so much different than football. It's relaxing. That's kind of what I've been getting up to the last couple years in my off time. But when it does get busy and it's playoff time, and it could be cold, we're on the road, you have to rely on the ones around you. It's a brotherhood, and it's the same connections. I traveled to Bill Crothers, from 2 hours away, and the friendships I developed there were unbelievable. Same thing once you get to university, so you develop this bond with the guys you go to school with. You develop bonds with the guys you're on the road with, and you're gonna have those for life. So when times get tough, you got to rely on your team. Like I said, you got to put time away for your family. You got to contact them and make sure you're up to date with everyone back home. What else do we got here? How often do we practice? Went over that. Work expectations. It's like I said, you've got to work. You got to be willing to put in the work. You're not going to get there off talent, right? That's how you get to a scholarship level. But to make it from university to the pros, you got to work. And if you solely get there to the pros off talent, you're not going to play very long if you don't put the work in to make sure that you're in tune mentally, watching film, understanding your opponents, understanding your own weaknesses, developing relationships with your coaches, and just preparing yourself physically in the gym, getting treatment, physio, rehab, everything like that. Now about the off season. What do I do with my off season? Some guys just like to train. Some people like to get ready. We're away from our families for 7, 8 months sometimes. They spend those 4 months, with their kids, with their wives, seeing their loved ones, because we don't get to see them a whole lot when we're in season. We're on the road. And you just train. You find out exactly what went wrong in your game the year before. If you're a tennis player and your serve sucks, guess what? You're going to spend 4 months working on your serve and maintaining the rest of your game. If you realized you were slow, you got to pick up the speed that year. If you weren't quite as big, you got to put on some size. Whatever it is, you got 4 months to absolutely crush that weakness and maintain your strengths. But a lot of guys work, especially in the CFL, just because the average football career, the average NFL career is 1 year. You get one shot, the injuries happen, someone else is younger and cheaper to pay, so they're going to bring them in. So a lot of guys want to work, because if there's one thing I can suggest now, whether you are a high school athlete, whether you're a college athlete, or looking to go pro, whatever it is to understand that the life isn't forever. And you know what? Would I love to play 10 years? Absolutely. But you have to understand that there's a lot more life after sports than there is during sports. So you have to find what you love to do outside of sport to make sure that you're set up for you and your loved ones and whatever family you start when you're playing to move on into another career. So I'm a big believer in either finishing your education. A lot of guys get drafted early and don't finish their schooling. You got to go back, finish your school, understand what you want to do. You have to find a job. I don't care if it's 1 day a week. Work in different environments and different fields to find out exactly what you want to do, because football, baseball, lacrosse, whatever we play isn't forever. And I'd love to sit up here and say it is forever, but that's not the reality. And the reality is just being cut. A lot of my best friends that had better college careers than I did have had very short careers. They played 6 games and they've been released. They've played 1 year and been released. They've been injured, whatever it is. And I don't want to get on here and use this as a scared straight, but I want everyone to understand that you are in such an amazing environment right now to be surrounded by great athletes, to be surrounded by teachers and coaches that love athletics, love the healthy, active lifestyle. But you have to understand that that is just a network. And the network you get to create in high school, the network you get to create in college, the network you get to create in the pros is what you're going to hold on to when you ultimately move on from sport or get kicked out of sport by being cut or released or injured. And develop those networks, surround yourself with good people, and understand the opportunity that's in front of you. You are at an incredible school. The friends that I met there, I'm still friends with. I got to stand next to some of them at their weddings this summer. It's incredible. So use that network, pick the teachers' brains, and just prepare yourself for when something unfortunate inevitably happens, right? Whether that's an injury or you even have to retire, right? If you retire at 30, you've had an amazing career. You've still got the rest of your life to move on. And don't be surprised when real life comes in and hits you in the face. But if you prepare yourself mentally and physically for that point, I think my next little video that you guys are going to see about my own personal journey will open up some eyes. But I just want you guys to not be scared. I want you to realize that it's unbelievable to have a chance to play pro sports. It's unbelievable to have an opportunity to represent a college, move on from high school, wear whatever colors your school is, and represent them at a national level, provincial level, and championships. And it's pretty awesome. So work, manage your time, pick the brains of the people at Bill Crothers, the network you have there, and get ready for an amazing journey to professional sports.